Yeah, so we've been it's been a little while. I think Al and I calculated on Friday, it had been 2 years since we did an Eotech update because of the struggles that Eotech had with COVID and everything. But we wanted to kind of give you an update on the things that have been happening, and then what Al sees coming in the future, and maybe talk a little bit about the projects that the advisory committee is kind of discussing right now, and then we'll go from there. So I'll ask Al to start us out.
Hello. Yeah, we were looking back at that, and I think it was like February or maybe even early March, just before COVID kicked in, was kind of my last report. And I remember standing and doing the report and saying, I have all my weekends full throughout the year. You know, we were good. Our numbers were good. We were kind of heading down a path, and I remember when COVID kind of hit in, and the first thing that canceled out, and I thought, well, you know, going to be a couple weeks out, and then a couple of things started going in. As you got about the fourth week or so that things started canceling out, you realized we were in for the long haul. So I went back and pulled my calendar up from 2020. At that point in time, we had 173 days booked on the calendar, which is pretty good for us. We were just coming off. I mean, we really hadn't been open. We were really just starting to get our footing and starting to move forward. By the end of the year, only 43 of those events actually happened, and most of those happened prior to COVID. About half of those happened before COVID really took hold, and then after that, it kind of just went into the tank extremely fast. Of those 43 events, most of those were, you know, we were smart enough or lucky enough, I'm not really sure which one it was. You know, we kind of were like everybody else. Those early days of COVID, we were kind of paying attention to what the governor was saying, how we're going to do it, what's going to be next. And she had come out, one of our first things that she came out with is that, wow, we're going to keep open outdoor recreational activities. And those words were so important for us. As a horse owner myself, I realized that I can't write my horses off on my taxes, so that makes it recreational, and it's outside. So early on in the chapter, we really went actively and aggressively after local barrel races and ropings and stuff like that, because we knew most people were closed. We were very successful at that, and of all those events that we captured, we got a lot out of Washington. We got some out of Walla Walla. We even got one came up out of Idaho. We've had a couple of rodeos come in. We've actually, in the long haul, been able to actually keep them. They came here, they liked it, we've been able to keep them. They didn't go back, so they're heading toward the numbers. Going into 2021, you know, we were starting to ease up a little bit. We had 115 event days. And in those 115 event days, I'm not including in those numbers, we did some Parks and Rec partnerships at the end of the year with some recreational activities and stuff that I didn't count those in there. And we also had a contract with Champions. If you remember correctly, school kicked back in, I think it was March-ish or so, and they had the Champions program. We hosted them up at Eotech every school day from April, May, and June. And I didn't count those days in there either. That was a nice little bump for us that we were able to do that, move forward. As we continue to move forward, also in 2021, we were lucky enough to get some grants. Actually, late 2020, 2021, we received $65,000 basically and some change in PPE grant dollars to kind of keep us rolling. And we also, that was the first round of PPE, and the second round of PPE, we secured $38,000. So that was also something that we did just as everybody else was struggling and trying to stay afloat. We kind of reached out to some other outside resources to make us viable and continue going. Also, there is a cultural grant that came out. We were lucky enough to get $209,000 out of that. That money went toward making our facility more COVID safe. We went, all the bathrooms, if you've been on the grounds, I don't know how many toilets and stuff in there, we took everything and we swapped everything over to hands-free. Before that, everything was kind of manual, hands-free, went all the way to hands-free. We did some other enhancing of outdoors. We added another outdoor arena so we could draw in some bigger contestants. We also, one of the things that from day one when I started up there, people asked me continuously, was I going to bring back the Festival of Lights? That was something that people continually ask. Through this cultural grant, we were able to go out and purchase our first set of lights. If you were up there the first year, and we're trying to grow it every year, that we've been able to bring that back and continue and hold that together, which I think has been a really good for us. And those days aren't counted in. I think we're 45 days. I think we run that. Those days aren't counted in those days at all either. As you go into 22, I counted today. I hadn't really looked at it really, but we have 177 days booked. And that puts us right back to where we were on track in 2020 when I reported the last time. One of the things that I noticed as I was looking at the calendar, the second part of the year has not begun to fill in. Part of that is the governor didn't release really to open functions till I think it was March, or I can't remember when all those dates came out. And you can't book. If you look at our calendar, the way it goes from basically July 15th to August 15th, we're kind of shut down for fair and some of that stuff. And most of our bigger events, quinces and stuff like that, usually are about a 6-month window outside of that when people will start looking and starting to book those. So I'm looking to see us begin to book some of those up toward we get into October and the early part of November. With that, I kind of kept it short and sweet. We were going to talk about some projects. You want me to go on with those, or do you want to? Okay. Yeah, any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
And also to add to that, which it didn't make my list, and we've done some things such as with the Festival of Lights. I thought it was really important during COVID for us to stay relevant. There were some things that we did, hosting events that were fundraiser events, smaller fundraiser events. They didn't have anything. We hosted them. We're like, you know what? We will host you. We're not going to make any money on you, but we're going to host you because we want to stay relevant in the community. And I think that's really paid off for us in the long run going forward. So we've hosted some of those. We started a thing that says Eotech Cares, and people will come and say, hey, we'd like to try and do this, and we try and give them the leeway to try and build something bigger. We're doing that right now with another group. They're trying to build on kind of a smaller flea market type of thing, and we've attached that to our, as we refer to bundling things, and we've attached that to one of our barrel races where I know I'm going to have clientele in there. We did the same thing here with Cinco de Mayo just last week or whenever, last weekend, last Sunday, trying to help people grow activities right here in the community.
So I would just like the opportunity to say thank you, because when I first got hired on, so to speak, and you and I had a chance to meet, and you had ideas, and we knew that we were heading into something that was going to put us in questionable waters as far as what was coming towards us. And a lot of what has gone on up there has helped this community keep as optimistic as we could be. The Festival of Lights, I've gone to all of that. And just from a community standpoint, you and your staff as a community member, what I've watched, thank you. It has been awesome to see what has unfolded, and it's been a really great service to the community, the events that have been going on there, and the innovations you guys have tried to come up with. And we are so appreciative. I mean, I cannot put into words the amount of effort that your team has pulled together. And so, thank you very much.
We're a small staff. We work hard, we work long, but we try to do the best we can. One of the things that we were really excited about, I know some of you guys got to be the Festival of Lights, and in those dark days of COVID, that first December, when everybody was still, we were going into Christmas, and we got into that process, the amount of joy, and I used that term, and I partnered with the Rotary. The Rotary they man gates every night for me. I mean, we'd turn them on, we'd be up there. They helped me every night there with their volunteers. We raised, I think the first year was like $7,000. I think the second year was $6,000 for the Rotary to give back to the community. But just the joy of if you got to man the gate, just to stand there and you see little kids coming through. There are nights where you'd stand there and a family of, there were cars that went through that I know had like 10, 15 kids in it, and I know that car could not even do it. But the sunroof would be open, the kids be out screaming, and like, oh, there's Santa. At that time, and even for me personally, because I was just like everybody else, it was just, short days, cold, the whole thing. I think it really made a difference for us. People appreciated that. We got tons of thank yous and stuff out of that, tons of positive publicity out of that. We continue to grow that, which is great. We've added a couple weekends to that with a festival. We've partnered now with the Chamber of Commerce. They're doing the Peppermint Lane, which I think was great. If we can get the weather to cooperate with us on the right nights, it would be better, but it's Eastern Oregon, you got to take what you get. But it has been a great event for us and a great community outreach for us. It's one of the events.
Anyone else care to share questions? Ms. Duran.
I too want to say thank you for keeping it going, keeping it open as much as you could under the circumstances that we had during the pandemic. But I also have a question for you. Do you provide like monthly reports of like the events that are happening at Eotech?
I do a monthly report to VenueWorks. I don't do one to the city at this point in time. I could supply that same one I do to VenueWorks, to Byron or the city if they want to kind of see what the things are coming up. We have partnered. One of the things that COVID did is it kind of forced some of us to start partnering together, which I think has been a good thing. Right now we're partnering a lot with Parks and Rec, and we've brought in the Chamber, trying to get more information out to people about what's happening at Eotech, what's open to the public. I just had someone show up the other day wanting to play basketball, and we haven't done basketball in, I don't know, it's probably been a couple months now, I think, since the weather's gotten nice, but we still have people showing up for those events. We really would turn a report. I could easily turn that report over. I turn in a 28th of every month, so I could easily just forward that to Byron as well, and he could share that with you, what's happening at Eotech.
Are you looking for ahead or are you looking for behind? What's happened, or are you looking for what's coming up?
For what's coming up.
Okay. Well, and that's one of the things that what do you call that? Hermiston Live is supposed to have all the public events. They'll be on that calendar. It's kind of a community calendar that we're trying to get started with Parks and Rec, the Chamber, and Eotech. So that will have all of the public events. Now it won't have a private party or wedding or whatever, but.
Perfect.
Bring us like a quarterly report in the beginning.
That's why we're coming back. That's what we're starting here tonight.
Okay, that's what, yeah. Because you did used to come.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the Hermiston Live website right now, and like I just happened to be on June, and I am seeing that a buck and roll barrel race is at Eotech on June 14th. So things are starting to be on there. I don't know how long things have been getting on there, but they are now. So,
It went live like a month ago. So we're still propagating that. Don't wait till that barrel race. I got one Wednesday. We had one last weekend. So yeah, we're starting to propagate that. You'll see something for us between now and July. We have one or two events, public events. Barrel racing is, a lot of our events, point of clarification, because I don't think people really get it. A lot of our events are competitive events. And competitive events don't necessarily mean ticketed events. So if you come up to Eotech for a roping event, for example, you're going to pull into the front of Eotech and you're going to see trucks and trailers scattered all across the back 40. And then if you pull around and you go around and you go up in the bleachers, you're like, there's nobody in the bleachers. Well, because they're driven by the competitors, and that's the people in the back pay the bills. They're the ones who pay the entry fees, they're the ones who pay the rental, they're the ones who do all that stuff. So barrel races and team ropings and stuff like that, they're always open, they're always free. We try to post those as much as possible. Generally, I'll get up on top of the stands, especially if we have a really good event going, and show people that come out and do that, to come on out and sit and visit and go from there.
Yeah, I know that here a couple weeks ago, I was out there for the college finals, or the college rodeo, and it was, I mean, it wasn't super populated, but it was, you know, it was, in the beginning, it was well attended. I'm glad nobody drowned in the arena, because the second day it rained so hard, and it was a lake out there, so.
And we had a barrel race this weekend too. We were supposed to have a team roping and a barrel race this past weekend, and we sump pumped 8 500-gallon tubs out of the arena just to get at the point where we get it to use it on Saturday afternoon by 5 o'clock, and then we were able to use it on Sunday. It's a bowl, and water runs out of the bleachers right into that arena, especially along the rail side right there, and so it's a constant challenge to try, especially. I mean, we live in a desert. We're not supposed to have 5 inches of rain in 1 week. Unfortunately, that's probably what we're going to get probably the rest of the summer.
Well, it made the rodeo a little more what's exciting.
It's
Barrel
rodeo,
racing especially.
It's rodeo,
Yeah.
but they were a little bummed because they had a good turnout on Friday, and if the weather cooperated, I think they would have had a good turnout on Saturday. But it was just so cold and miserable, and and it's actually a really good rodeo on top of it all, and nobody got to see it because the weather was so bad.
It was a very good rodeo. So, anybody else have any questions on that part of things? Yes, ma'am. Another.
All right, I have one last thing, and they're going to be 2 words. I said the first time we met, and this is just my suggestion, Renaissance Festival.
Somebody has to run it.
Can you imagine, though, like, you know, knights jousting in the stadium, like giant turkey legs? I mean,
And
come on, work with me
I
here.
have not forgot those 2 words. And just to let you know that I'm supposed to be meeting with a guy here sometime this month who does those things. We don't know if it's the possibility, but we're going to begin to have that conversation. So I have not forgot those 2 words.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the projects that the advisory committee is kind of considering, and a little bit about some of the funding that the fair has been allocated from the state. So the 2 major projects, well, there were kind of 3 as we finished the strategic plan and then the master plan for the property. One of the first ones was water on that, and so we have been working towards securing permanent water rights. I kind of talked about that a little bit at our last meeting. But then, as a follow-up to that, we've been working closely with the Hermiston Lacrosse Club, and they are interested in getting some more field space built, and so we've done some preliminary numbers that would this includes bringing the water to the site and then putting grass on the front 20 acres. And that's about $3 million to do that, because the water is way down the hill, and so it's a lot of long pipe run to get it up from the Hermiston Irrigation District, so out of the canal that's at the bottom of the hill. So the other project is a commitment we made to the county, is to work toward increasing their capacity for RV spaces during the fair, which, you know, Al mentioned all of those ropings and so forth, that they would be able to take advantage of that asset as well. And so that's, again, a reason why that's a great partnership type of a project. We went through a couple of different redesigns, been working with both the fair and the rodeo to try to meet the things that they are interested in with that, and have come up with a project that's about $4 million to do that. And so right now, we don't have enough money to do either of those projects outright, and so the process begins to start looking for some partnerships. The city, we have about 600,000 that we have been holding on to for a project at Eotech. We also, when we talked about ARPA funding, the potential for using some from that to put towards a project. So, you know, we have some of the seeds if we can go out and get some of the funding that's available for different infrastructure, different things. We're hoping to be able to piece that together, but it's not going to be tomorrow we start construction type of a project. But the other piece to talk about is the county fairs throughout the state were able to secure some funding. So first it was in 2021 session. They have funding that is to be split equally across all of the fair grounds around the state, and it comes out to $277,000 and some change. And so because we're the owner, we have to apply, but they want us to be working in conjunction with the fair, obviously. But we're trying to find projects that would benefit both the fair and Eotech on a year-round basis for that. And then in the 2022 session, there was $1 million allocated specifically to the Umatilla County Fair, but both of those are for infrastructure, for something, building something. They can't just spend it on, you know, programming or anything like that. So we've been working with the county at our last advisory committee. Doug Bennett, who is the representative from the fair, was talking about some of their discussions. You know, they had a huge turnout. I think I shared last meeting as far as the number of steers that are signed up to be at the fair, and they had to put out a tent last fair just to be able to accommodate all of the cattle that they had. And so one of the things that they would like to do with that 1.3 million is to expand the barns, because we built the barns to about 2/3 of their capacity of their full design that we had originally planned up there. We just didn't have money to go all the way to the full size, and so we have the plans. We had laid it out just so it could be added onto. So that's something that they're exploring. We need to have another, you know, meeting and start talking about it, because one of the applications is due coming up in June, and so, but, you know, I think if you talk to Al, expanding the barns would be a benefit for the roping events and things like that, as the participants would want to rent stalls and be able to utilize the extra barn space that would be available. So, you know, even though it doesn't, you know, I'd love to take that $1.3 million and put it into one of those other projects, but I think from the fair standpoint, I can see why they would want to do their project, the barns, and so, and I think it will be a benefit for Eotech in the long term. It's just, you know, sometimes you get, I think Representative Smith often uses, he always says it's the right color of money, right? So it's just hitting just right, that's the kind of project we can complete. So, yes.
What's the cost on that?
On the barns, that's what they're working on. They don't have a full estimate yet, but they're hopeful that they could do it all for that 1.3 million.
And then I have one more question. On the RV,
Mm-hmm.
did we settle on a location?
Yes. So when all of you approved the master plan, the 20-year master plan for the property, if you remember right, Mr. K from the rodeo committee came and said they had fully supported it, which included this RV park in the northeast corner of the property.
Yes, I remember, but I also remember the go-around
Yes.
over that.
Yeah, and it really ended up in the same place we started.
Okay, all right.
And we kind of went through a lot of discussions about, do we want to open this up for a year-round RV park, and, you know, just let people stay there. And I think, you know, though that could generate some money for Eotech, it also generates some potential challenges. And I think with all the different events, and if we can get some more field space, that also enhances, you know, families that are coming to soccer and lacrosse tournaments, giving them an opportunity to bring an RV or something. So what we would build, it would not be a year-round, anybody can come rent. It would be related to events. So if you're coming to an event, then you can rent a space, but otherwise not.
But with more events coming on and different types of events, then the opportunity would be there for a lot of different
Right.
people to use that RV.
Exactly.
Not, you know, on a, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't be on a month-to-month. Right. That's the current plan. I think, yeah.
And just to go a little bit more on what City Manager Smith was saying, as one of the Eotech representatives here from the council, it's a very sensitive subject and conversation to have right now because really the money was allocated to fairgrounds, not a fair. And typically fairs own their fairgrounds, but in this case the city owns the fairground. And so that's where we're having that discussion and trying to be sensitive about each other's needs and what ultimately will benefit the community as a whole. It's pretty apparent that both of these projects will benefit the community as a whole, whether it's to get the fields developed in order to have more people coming in, more heads and beds, or also as a community investment to have the next barn built to be able to house you know, the increasing capacity of what's going on up there at Eotech. And so both of these are projects that we definitely need, but just so the council's aware, that's kind of where the discussion has been at this point, and why we're being sensitive and trying to listen and trying to see which direction ultimately the committee wants to go. But ultimately, the council does have the decision. So just wanted to give you that perspective.
From my perspective on that, the barns, currently, when we have, I know there's 5 or 6 large events, and we max those out every time. So I think that's a good approach, with in mind that the strategic plan, #1 goal is water in the strategic plan that we went through. So they kind of rubbing up against each other a little bit. But also, I always refer to Byron I was cringing. Byron kept calling it an RV park, and which is not an RV park, it's event parking, because RV park brings a whole nother thought process to people's minds versus event parking. And in event parking, we can supply your electric and water and maybe sewage if the plan works so out, but it's specifically for events. We get calls all the time, and sometimes we accommodate them depending on what our schedule is, where people who are coming, and RV parks in town they're booked, they're solid, and they need someplace to stay 2 or 3 days while they're visiting their mom or their whatever. And if we don't have anything going on, we accommodate them, and they pay, and then they go on about their way. I also believe, and I'll say this out loud, it's hard to believe that as a horse owner myself, this whole thing, we're a competition town. I think we do competitions as good as any community here. If you look at what we do at the AAU and what we've done with a lot of other events, sports driven, there's one thing that's COVID recession proof, and it's youth athletics. The kids play baseball through it, they play football through it, they do soccer through it, they do lacrosse through it, they kept going. Myself, my family, we wrestle, so we go and we travel to these wrestling tournaments, and I was telling Byron, for us to go to a wrestling tournament, just through entry fees and getting in the door, we're already into it $100, just before we've even walked on the mat. So the lacrosse fields, which doubles as soccer fields because they're kind of somewhat of the same format, really would put us on a map of people like coming here. My original statement when I applied for the job was it's in the center of nowhere, but it's in the middle of nowhere, but in the center of everything. We draw people in from Seattle, Boise, Portland on a regular basis. We had a lady come in from Spokane this weekend. I know that because she called me on the phone and was wanting directions. But we draw from such a wide area because after I complained about the weather, we're pretty dry for the most part. When on the other side, when I visited with people on lacrosse, and they say they can't play lacrosse on the other side of the mountains because it rains too much. Fields are wet, they're sloppy. Same thing with soccer. So people like coming here because it's more central. 84, 82, easy access. I think they're all good projects. It's just a matter of what we want to go with and how much money Roy's going to write the check for.
If I may, one of the things that the committee was able to agree upon for sure, and it's a council goal as well, was the water rights. And so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, City Manager, it's about $300,000 to secure those water rights. So as of right now, we're getting water rights leased from Stanfield. We're gonna get our own water rights so we can secure that. I know that's been a council goal for a while.
Permanent water rights.
Indeed. And so that for sure is something that Eotech agreed upon, the committee did, and I believe that council will be happy with that. Now as for the rest, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Yeah, we all are very, very much aware of how important water is to our community and the bringing it to the areas to make it usable. City Manager Smith.
Yeah, so the final topic I'd like to kind of bring up is, can you hand that around to everybody, please? So our contract with VenueWorks to operate the facility is a 5-year agreement with renewals unless one of the parties canceled it, and it's 2 5-year renewals after. But the end of this calendar year is the end of the first 5 years in that contract with VenueWorks. And what we've been kind of talking internally, talking with Al, if you take a look at the numbers that I've passed around, fiscal year 18-19 is really the last full year that we had of operations not affected by COVID. So we're just kind of using that as far as the revenues to take a look at. And then also those are the numbers we know were reported to us from VenueWorks as far as their costs during that time. And the number that really stands out is the VW management fee line, and that in that year it was $116,300, and this year in 2022 we will pay them $121,555.
What is the direct other cost? Because the salaries are up top.
Right, so just other expenses when they rent, linens or, other things like that go with the events. Those are those types of costs. So if you take a look at what we've just done as a possible budget for fiscal year 22-23, which is where we're at right now. And we've gone through, taken a look at where some of those costs are, different things that we would need to spend money on. And so with that management fee, kind of keeping it instead of paying them, we feel like we can operate this facility at roughly a break even. And so, we've been pleased, great relationship with the local staff here from VenueWorks, but I think that our challenge has been more with the corporate side, particularly on the financial reporting and different things that we've wanted from them. There's a potential that, we could go after them for breach of contract just because they didn't quite get us this or that. And we also recognize they went through COVID, so they lost a lot of staff because all of the venues they operate all shut down and stuff like that. So, but what I want to kind of have a discussion with the council about tonight, and if you're ready to kind of go down the road of having a direction to end the contract or just not renew the contract. That's kind of what we wanted to have that discussion tonight about. So let me just highlight one other thing. So that salaries line in the proposed 22-23 budget, what we would propose would be to take on all of the full-time staff that currently works at Eotech, which are 3, and then also make an addition of a sales and marketing position there, which we don't have full-time currently. So we would be adding 1 more full-time staff person. It also includes those numbers. The benefits line is a full 35% number. We didn't go and do every position, but we think we're pretty comfortable with 35% being a good number for that. So with that, I'd be happy to have any discussion, questions.
So on the sales and marketing type, that person, that wouldn't just be just Eotech, that could be as basically for all city.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential for some shared opportunities
This
there. For this
facility,
facility, other, yes.
Yeah.
And also, another thing I've had preliminary conversations with Brandon about is, they mow a lot of grass at Eotech. We mow a lot of grass in the parks. I think there's some other areas in the city where we could be a little more, gain some ground that way.
Now, does this 287 salaries include that marketing
Yes.
person? Okay.
Yes.
Are they going to be taking a decrease in salary if they're going from 305 to 287 plus another person in there? How's that affecting everybody?
As in my conversations with Al, no, would not be taking a cut. I don't know what's in that number. There's probably part-time numbers in there. I don't know exactly, but we've worked through what he knows they're getting paid and what we would pay them, and so
I would imagine that it's probably likely that there are some positions that are paid for out of that through VenueWorks permanent employees
be.
outside the area. I would
Yeah.
imagine that would be a partial of that.
there's some allocation of finance people and other
Splitting
people.
costs.
Yes.
Well, and I think that another reason that we don't know is because we never got any financial reporting from them,
Right.
or much.
Not much. Some, not much.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So what exactly were we paying VenueWorks for when it sounds like the home crew was doing everything?
Well, I mean, that's part of the question that we've
It's
asked.
like-
And, there was, in the contract, there's some language about them helping us with doing some naming rights and some other things like that just really hasn't come to fruition. They actually have started working on it this year a little bit to do that, but I think, and Al may disagree, but I think this type of a venue was really not in their wheelhouse. They were willing to come in, and they really helped us a lot. We advertised for a director prior to entering into a contract with VenueWorks, and we got very limited response to that. They were able to get 2 very solid candidates for the position, and Al was one of those. And so some of their national footprint was able to help, but in the long term, it hasn't kind of worked out like we hoped.
So basically, in essence, we didn't know what we didn't know, and now we know what we know.
Right now, I think we know a lot more. We know we have a better handle on what it's going to take to operate the facility.
Okay.
I'm just looking at this. In order to get that net revenue of 79,000, we're still putting a TRT, so that's transient room tax, we're still putting $275,000 of transient room tax into that facility every year.
Yes.
Hear you, Mr. Spicer. Can you turn on your mic? Thank you.
Wasn't close enough. I was just looking at the numbers, and it looks like we're still, I mean, in order to get that net revenue number of 79,000, that's still us putting in $275,000 of tax money, of transient room tax money into it every year.
Right. And, you know, in all of the times that I talked about this project, I never claimed that we would operate this in the black without some form of revenue. Particularly, but I said I think we can do it without property tax. So there are no general fund property tax dollars going into this. And I think, you know, just like Al talked about with you know, the number of events picking up and so forth, I think we can whittle that TRT subsidy down over time, but I think we're always going to be putting that there, and I think that's a great use for that kind of money. That's the kind of, you know, it's kind of going back into itself, right? Trying to generate more events, more things happening that bring more visitors, more hotel stays, things like that.
Well, that's basically what the TRT is designed to do, is this type of a situation, from my understanding.
Correct.
Have RV rental up there, does any of that go back into the transient room tax, or is that?
It would be more related directly to the event revenue. No, I mean, could we, if we were to operate a year-round RV park facility, then yes, we would impose that RV tax. But I don't see it in the same way. I mean, we could look at whether we would pay that, but I don't know, or charge that.
However, a lot of individuals that would be coming for events wouldn't necessarily stay on the grounds. They would come stay in a hotel for a few nights and then take off. So thereby having more events, you're going to, you know, as a consequence, have, you know, more people in town, more people, you know, making use of the other facilities anyway, just as a consequence.
Right. I even heard Al talk about the horse people. That's what he talks about. That's how he, but that they will even come, they'll bring their animals and everything, but they still want to stay at the hotel. You know, they'll come and take care of them and then come back. And so, yeah, I think we can still generate quite a few hotel nights out of
And that's
that.
what the TRT tax was, you know, established to do.
Correct.
Right.
Any other comments care to share? Yes, Youth Advisory.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what type account was VW management fees?
So as part of our contract with VenueWorks, which is the VW, we agreed to a certain percentage that we would pay them every, yeah, is it a dollar amount? It's a dollar amount that then increases by percentages. Okay, yeah, so we agreed to pay them so much to operate the facility, on top of the costs that we would be subsidizing as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was following along with you guys, but I looked at this specific account. I didn't know what
Yeah.
it was. So thank you.
Great.
Any others?
All right, those are the topics we wanted to hit, and looks like we made it.
All right, well, it looks like we'll call the work session to a close, and we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock. going to call the 7 o'clock regular meeting of the Hermiston City Council Urban Renewal Agency to order with a declaration of a quorum. We have Councilor Davis and Mayor Drotzman are excused. Let's stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we have a few things here to take care of. First up today is a proclamation on National Police Week. This week is the week of the 15th through the 21st is nationally recognized as National Police Week to honor those folks that serve us in that capacity. I'll just read the proclamation here. To recognize National Police Week 2022 and to honor those currently serving, those retired from service, and the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our community and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the 29 sworn and 8 non-sworn members of the Hermiston Police Department. Whereas on average, 55,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 15,000 injuries. And whereas the first recorded death in 1786, just over 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including one member of Hermiston Police Department, Ronald G. Kilby, end of watch Thursday, October 8th, 1959. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Whereas 609 new names of fallen heroes from 2021, a 47% increase from 2020, will be added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City of Hermiston formally designates May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as National Police Week and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and all communities across the nation. Signed this day, this 9th day of May, 2022, by me, Doug Primer, Council President. I'm going to sign that. This is a hard one for me to get through without choking up a little bit. I've been a law enforcement officer myself, and we have law enforcement members here in the audience. And it's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, obviously. So yeah, we owe a lot to the folks that serve us every single day. And every day that they pin that badge on their shirt, they're not sure whether that's going to be the last day they do that. And, you know, they put on 30 pounds of gear to make sure that we're all safe. So to all of those of you who are out there listening, in the audience, around, thank you so very much. Chaplain Cummings.
In accordance with this recommendation that we just passed, I've been given the privilege to pass out some magnets. They are provided by our Hermiston Police Department, and they look exactly like the patches that the gentlemen wear on their coats. This magnet will go on your car, it'll go on your refrigerator, but you cannot put it on your shirt sleeve and use it that way. But thank you for the opportunity.
was handing those out. Next up on our agenda is presentations by the Hermiston School District and Assistant Superintendent Jake Bacon. Mr. Bacon.
Evening.
Howdy, sir.
Thanks. Well, I'll jump into it tonight. This weekend, we will be hosting the district track meet Friday and Saturday, so that's some pretty exciting event that's going to be taking place and takes quite a bit volunteers from the community and members of the school district to host that event and be taking place. So if you're driving around and looking for something to do, please swing on by, and if you want to volunteer, let us know. Outdoor school is going on right now. We actually should be just finishing up with our last school, and it has been going really well. Only one school, I believe, has been snowed on, so that's great news for May. Kind of caught everybody by surprise. Well, we've been watching, but not often do we get snow up there in May, but we did this year. So, but kids have been enjoying it, and it's been really nice to be able to bring that back and have our kids be able to participate in it, which they have not been able to do for 3 years. We are also getting ready, June 6th. The time will be announced a little bit later, but June 6th, we are going to host a celebration of Rocky Heights, the old Rocky Heights. And so there will be an event taking place over there at the school on June 6th. And then following that, June 9th is graduation at the Toyota Center. It'll be taking place at 7 o'clock. And again, we're excited to be able to host a full graduation event for the first time in a few years. Along with Rocky, also, we got to name it. I'm not sure the staff feels the same way about it, but we do have 2 staff packing parties that are going on as we get ready in transition. And so just some of the fun things that we don't normally do in the end of a school year that we're tackling as we're preparing for these 2 new schools that are coming up. So staff 2 nights will buy pizza and provide lots of boxes for them to fill up. And the construction progress, it's becoming more challenging to find some of the items to complete construction. So there are some challenges with our timelines there, but we're still on pace to open up as scheduled. The superintendents of both projects are doing an amazing job of finding workarounds to do whatever they can to stay on track with it. So we're excited that we've been able to work with the group. They're doing a good job with it. So that, in a nutshell, is a flashbang here at what's going on in the Hermiston School District.
Sounds exciting. District track meet. That's a big thing for this area. Outdoor school. That I have fond memories of sending family members to that. I never got to participate because we moved here from Seattle before I got that. But all my brothers and sisters did that. Enjoyed it very much. So good. Graduation, June 9th. Anybody have any kids here that are going to be graduating? No? There we go. All right. Congratulations, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Bacon? Yes, sir.
I had a question on the Rocky Heights farewell. What time is that at again?
We're not sure. They're still working the specifics out, but we'll let you know. We'll do a public release on it as soon as we have it all dialed in.
Will you be like demolishing it all there in front of everybody?
Well, I'm not sure what Dr. Mooney has, but she's keeping it kind of under the hat there as far as what we're going to do. So it'll be a fun event just to celebrate and yeah.
Well, that'll take a little bit of coordination if they're going to do that. So I don't think that's going to be a secret thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of community members that were interested in taking pictures with Rocky Heights, just because it's been here for so long. Some community members went to that school, and so it's a soft memory, especially the breezeway and the pictures that are there. So I think that'll be a great event. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great things. Looking forward to hearing for that. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if there's any plans to like take pictures and memorialize it anyway, much like how they did with the old high school, right over by where the library is, how they have the old archway? Because I know in Hermiston, it's pretty important that we preserve where we've come from, so that we can be mindful of that as we move forward, especially with how dynamic and growing we are. Is there any plan for that, or are we just gonna, you know, as we were describing, like in the competitive Lego TV series where they just, you know,
Yeah,
close
no.
it out? Any plans?
Still discussing as far as what will be done. Nothing's been decided for sure, but they're definitely talking, you know, because the breezeway with the mural and everything, what's going to be done there. So conversations are still being had. We'll have it figured out. Hopefully by June 6th is the plan.
So we'll have an update on the update.
The update on the update, and then
All right.
probably another one that'll come through.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Bacon.
Okay, have a great night.
Right, on to citizen input. This is the time in our agenda where anyone wishing to bring anything before the city council that is not on the agenda is asked to please do the following. Limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes. State your name and address, and direct your comments to me, the chair. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to have something to say to the council? Seeing none, we'll move along to the consent agenda items. Any items on the agenda for council discussion? Okay, does anybody wish to remove anything from this? A or B? Any public comment on either of these items? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So move.
I have a motion to move
Second.
by Mr. Spicer-Coon and second by Mr. Barone. Roll call.
Yes.
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 I get to vote too, by the way. Yes. Yes, as a council president, I still get to vote, so. No, it's in the rules. All right. We don't have any items that have been removed. So we will move down to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution number 2219, master fee schedule update. City Manager Smith.
Yes, so trying to streamline these updates as we put all the fees in one schedule. We have kind of two topics tonight where we're proposing to adjust the fees. First is in the Aquatic Center area. The Parks and Rec Committee took a look at these recommendations and is recommending those for the council to approve as well. But, and the last time these fees were adjusted was in 2019. And just from having experienced other aquatic facilities, this facility has done a great job of staying around that 70 to 80%, 75 is what we shoot for, percent cost recovery. And so, you know, adjusting these on a regular basis is a key to kind of keeping that level of cost recovery. Always being sensitive, trying to keep, you know, making sure we have services available. We do have scholarships and other things that if people need a little assistance, they can do that through the Parks and Rec. The other area is in the municipal court. And this one, some of these fees have been charged, but have not ever been approved by the council prior to this. And so what we're requesting to be added to the master fee schedule is first a payment plan fee, and proposing, rather than what we've normally done, a two-tiered fee that would be a little more fair to somebody with a lower level of fines than just a flat $50, which it has been in the past. And let's see, and then also allows the fee to be waived if they pay off all of their fines on the case within 12 months. So it gives them an incentive to get that taken care of. And then also just to memorialize a fee for when the judge performs a marriage ceremony. And there's on-site and off-site fees that are proposed. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So this is one of those things that we have to do from time to time just to keep up with costs as they increase. It's
Correct.
not that we want to raise prices, but it's just the way the world works, unfortunately.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for City Manager Smith on this?
But just to be clear, this is raising the cost of pool entry by $1 this year.
Correct.
When was the last time we raised the cost of
2018.
2018?
Yeah.
Any other comments? Concerns? Is there any public comment in regards to the fee schedules? Yeah, please step up to the... Need you to state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Garrett. I think I live over in Ward 1, if I remember the map correctly, over by 11th Street. Norma Drive, if I need to be more specific. About the fees for raising the cost of admission at the pool, I was just curious, I'm sorry if I missed it, why exactly do we need to do that?
Well, we've experienced increased costs over the past 4 years, particularly our chemicals, and then as well as labor has gone up in the operation of the pool.
I'm not old enough to remember this, of course, but my stepmother brought to my attention that initially the aquatic center was meant to be an indoor facility. And, you know, that would make sense in this area just because we have some pretty extreme weather. And I just wanted to bring to your attention, it might not be a horrible idea to one day in the far future make that a reality, because I feel like that could potentially bring in a lot of revenue for the city. And I know that's something we all love because, I don't know about you guys, I have some great memories at the aquatic center, and I think it'd be fun to go there like for Christmas. You know what I mean? I think making it a year-round facility would be something that could potentially, I don't know, excite a lot of people. But.
It has, an indoor facility has been on our agenda radar for many years. The cost involved is considerable, but it is something that we are working towards. And at this point in time, it's, you know, the reality of it is not something that we're going to see probably anytime super soon, but it is something that we are working towards.
I do imagine it's quite expensive, but another added benefit would be that the swim team wouldn't have to travel far, because I know that was a huge concern when I was going to school, is that the swim team had to go to Pendleton and they couldn't use our facilities. But
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other public comment on Resolution 2219?
Me again. With regards to the marriage ceremony that's performed by the municipal judge, there wasn't ever a fee set for that before?
There was a fee. It's never been memorialized in the fee, in our official fee schedule.
And there was a fee for off-site?
And there wasn't a difference. There was always only one, even if, you know, the judge traveled a long ways. And so we've gone with what's recommended in the ORS as far as the off-site fees.
Okay.
Councilor Peterson has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and that's for people that just wish to have a marriage performed by the judge. Is there, which is obviously not necessarily required to have a marriage ceremony performed. So, is there information given on our site of how else, like, to have a ceremony performed? Because, like, I've performed a few myself in the past, and so it's like, you know,
Yeah,
not everyone can.
I don't think so. I don't think we offer any. Do we offer any other options?
We don't, and we don't even have that information about us performing weddings on our website right now, because I was waiting until it was approved by City Council before I put it on there. But that is something we can do, as well as include links to the information on the county on how to get marriage license, because we get that question at least daily.
Okay, yeah, because we don't want, I wouldn't wish for us to give the impression that this is like the only route.
Right. I think most of the time, at least in the past, the reason they've chosen us is we're the least expensive in the area.
Okay. Any others? Yes, sir.
More of a comment on the aquatic center. I had a chance to talk to City Manager Smith because I did have just a concern on the rates rising, especially with being equitable and knowing in our community we've talked about, there's been a huge population or a huge percentage of students, especially Latino students, that have difficulty swimming, and it's caused, some accidents. And so I was concerned about that, but I was really happy with what City Manager Smith brought to my attention about scholarships still out there. So I do hope that the public still knows about that, still somewhere on our website. So if there are any community members that have difficulty accessing it because of the fees, that we have a scholarship available for making it more accessible to community members.
Okay, good information.
Mr. Primer.
Yes, ma'am.
So, since fees for entry at the Aquatic Center are going up, does that also apply to things such as lessons or just like classes that they hold there?
Yeah, all of the aquatic center related fees are going up some amount. If you look further down on those pages, you'll see where they are each going up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone else? Ms. Peterson.
So along the same lines, is the spray ground going to be up and going this year? And is it going to be usable?
I'm going to ask Mr. Arts to answer that, please.
That's a very good question. So yes, it will be open. It's always slated to be open Memorial Day weekend. Fortunately, due to Funland being refurbished, it's kind of shown how much the splash pad is aged. I've gone out to for grants with the Good Shepherd Foundation and received $12,500 in a grant for resurfacing the concrete there. Lamb Weston has also acknowledged and wanted to dedicate $50,000 to refurbishing the splash pad. Also have grants into the OCF and the Wild Horse to kind of do a full refurbishment of the entire area. So that will be coming. I would like to say that Memorial Day is when it will be open, but with these impending refurbishments, it may be delayed in opening depending on contractor work to get in there and to resurface the area.
And that doesn't have so it's not a pool, but it's for the community and it's free.
It's free to the community, and that's where we wanted it to stay. So that's why we went out for grants and these funds. So very appreciative of Good Shepherd and Lamb Weston, and we will memorialize the refurbishment with their names on a plaque there.
Excellent.
I want to clarify her question just a little bit. As far as I can see, we're not actually raising the cost of swim lessons. Those are set on a yearly basis by the Parks Department, correct? So we're not voting on that tonight.
Right. That's something that the Parks Department sets.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other comments specific to the fee raising? None. Can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2219 and lay upon the record?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Duran, seconded by Ms. Myers. And roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Next, Resolution 2220, Regional Water System Engineering Services Agreement. City Manager Smith.
I'll ask Mr. Morgan to address this.
Yes, Mr. Council President, members of the council, this resolution this evening is really essentially a pass-through type of resolution. The dollar figures involved are relatively large, but ultimately what this resolution is to authorize City Manager Smith to purchase a little over $1 million worth of engineering services from Anderson Perry, our regular engineering firm, to do some expansions or to design and oversee some expansions to the regional water system as requested by a potential future client who's requested water to be delivered to their site down off of Feedville and Kelly, down in the South Hermiston Industrial Park area. The regional water system, because of the size and scope of the projects that are involved with that type of an operation, we don't have what you'd think of as like a standard system development charge or something like that for these projects. They tend to be large and very few and far between when they do occur. And so when we engage in these types of system expansions, we ask the company that's requesting that service be expanded to pay for all of the cost themselves up front, and that includes the design, and we handle all of the design in-house so that we can maintain control over the system. So what this resolution is although the city is the one actually purchasing the engineering services from Anderson Perry, the client will ultimately be reimbursing the city for all of those expenses moving forward. So from a purchasing standpoint, contracting standpoint, the city had gone out for requests for proposals for engineering services twice in the past 6 years, and we've selected Anderson Perry both of those times, and so that allows us to more direct purchase these types of engineering services without going out for a competitive bid each time that we seek these services. So that's again why we're going with Anderson Perry for this contract, and I'd recommend approval this evening.
Council, questions? Yes, sir.
Is there already a contract with this customer in place, or is that something that'll be executed somewhere down the line?
As far as a contract for the reimbursement?
For these?
Yeah, so I've been working with City Attorney Tuvey to have that reimbursement document in place. We've been working with the client to sign that reimbursement agreement. We've worked with this company in the past on another similar expansion out off of Westland Road several years ago, and this same process worked well with that client in the past. So there weren't any issues with them, us performing the service, getting billed from Anderson Perry. We submit those to the client. They reimbursed us very quickly.
So this is a way of us having quality control and making sure that it gets done correctly, and then they reimburse us for making sure it gets done correctly.
Correct.
But they're the ones footing the bill in the long run, and
Correct.
we're just making sure that it's going in as we want it to.
Yeah, because it's ultimately it's our system. It will be our system coming out the end of it. You know, even if for whatever reason they're gone in 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to be our system, and so we want to make sure that it's designed to our standards. So they're essentially hiring us to do that design because they're the ones who need the water.
So when does the work begin?
Immediately on the design work.
And when is the completion?
So they've requested delivery of their water September of 2023, so a little over about 15, 16 months.
Yep. Thank you.
And are we going to have to apologize to anyone for inconveniencing them because we're tearing up roads or anything?
No, not really. I mean, the only impact on roads from this project, and again, that's what we'll be getting into with the design part of this, is exactly how they'll be doing that construction project. But right now the intention is to keep it in the right-of-way outside of the asphalt along Feedville Road, which is relatively less traveled. But also right now the intention, just talking with the engineers this morning, is to actually bore under Highway 207. So in terms of impact to 207, we'll likely be boring, so there wouldn't be any impacts to traffic there.
Any other comments, questions? Any public comment on this? Seeing none. Can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2220 and lay upon the record?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Duran, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Can I get a roll call?
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Okay, that's exciting. Eotech contract decision.
Yes, so as we talked about during our workshop earlier, we're coming up to our first 5 years under contract with VenueWorks to operate the Eotech facility. And we're grateful for the experience we've had with them. We think it's been a positive, but I think, Mr. Primer, you said it well. We've learned a lot of things. We've learned maybe how things are going, and we feel comfortable that we can operate Eotech. And so we would be requesting tonight that the council give us direction to initiate basically the non-renewal of the contract with VenueWorks.
When exactly does that end?
It ends at the calendar year, so January or December 31st. And we're required to give them 90 days notice.
Right.
So this is a little early, but I wanted to get this in place soon.
Is there anything else you have to do in preparation for this?
No, I think there will be a little bit of kind of just unwinding of making sure we've compensated them properly for this year and some of that, but other than that, that's all.
I'd want to make sure that we are reassuring the home staff that we are going into this with the understanding that we believe they've been doing a good job and that this is not, any reflection on their service to the community in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I could go up with Al and talk with the full-time staff and let them know.
Yeah, because that's automatically going to be the first thought.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask Al what benefits he receives, or who's doing most of the work and setting up all the events. Do you receive any benefits from VenueWorks? Any tangible benefits that help you with your job?
I didn't come in as a VenueWorks employee. I wasn't an employee till I came here. I came to work at Eotech, as if it makes sense. They may have put the ad up, but if I'd have seen the ad from the city, I probably would have applied to that. It just happened to be where I was looking for a position. There is some support I get. There's always support when you have a network of people around you who have similar interests. Questions like I'm working on a grant right now, and I had some questions from some other people who had some grants. But those are resources I'm going to continue to have. I don't think those guys are going to cut me loose. I have good relationships with all of them. As I told Byron, I think as we talked about it, we've been very open about the conversation and the numbers and what's happening. And I don't see where it changes my job all that much, except for my monthly report, where instead of going to VenueWorks, I'd probably go to Byron. Corey's been a great resource for me on stuff, especially when we get into COVID, on kind of what the protocols are and the standards and some of that stuff, but that's nothing that I couldn't get someplace else. It just happened to be he was convenient. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Most of the VenueWorks support comes from the financial side of it, which you've talked about that a little bit earlier. There's been conference calls and stuff that you get part of, kind of industry standard stuff that you kind of get part of, but I can join a professional organization on my own just as well as I can join a professional organization as an entity as VenueWorks. So that stuff is kind of already baked in the cake. Okay. And as far as you talked about staff, I've been very open with them. That's kind of the way I operate. We hired a new guy on in October. Brian, you haven't met him yet. And I told him up front, I said, hey, this could be, I'm hiring you away from someplace else. I'm letting you know what's happening so that you aren't caught off guard and you don't leave your job. And so we've been pretty open with, I mean, there's only 3 of us. You can't really keep a secret when there's only 3 of you in the office. So they're pretty open. They're accepting of it. They're all have their families here, and they're sold on Eotech. So
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other comments from council? Mr. Broom?
I believe after hearing, or I guess not hearing a lot of the financial reports, I think this is more of an easier decision, especially with what Councilor Peterson was saying about retention of the staff. I also had that concern, as well as when we had the transition from sanitary disposal to our new provider. So I'm really happy that we have talented people that we can keep on board. And as hard as a decision as it might be, it's pretty easy knowing that we have good people on the team.
Mr. Harden or Ms. Duran? Anything you want to add into there?
I guess I'm very thankful that, Mr. Smith, you're giving them plenty of time also for them to prepare themselves. It's not something that is going to surprise them, I hope, because you've had conversations with them. They know our expectations, and I think since we have worked to be transparent, it's, if they're not able to provide that, then it's time for us to part ways and wish them the best.
So, one thing I forgot to mention earlier, that I did have some discussions. He mentioned Corey. He's kind of the supervising this site. In my conversation with him, we talked about that there may be some things that they have as a specialty that we may want to continue in a more limited agreement with them. And one of those was, I mentioned earlier, is the naming rights. They're familiar with doing that with facilities all over the country, and kind of how that works, and how to value those types of things. So we may have a limited agreement with them at some point that we bring back for the council to help us with some of these specialty things that may not be as accessible to Al in a professional association type of a scenario.
That was part of the original contract, and it never happened.
Right. They are working on it, though, right now. They've had an appraiser come. Yes, I understand. But they know more about it than I do.
True.
For sure.
All right.
So, but your intention is to use them in essence as a contractual...
Some sort of a consultant.
Consultant.
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be an agreement approved by the council at some point if we come to some terms that make sense.
But I would also think that, at least through the League of Cities, a lot of cities have done naming rights to other facilities and other areas, that we should be able to get some pretty good guidance through them as well.
We might. That's correct.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for City Manager Smith? Public comment. Anyone out there care to share questions? Seeing none. Can I get a motion to discontinue the contract? Is that what we're going to call it, or to unrenew, to non-renew the contract with VenueWorks?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Meyer, seconded by Councilor Harden, not renew the contract with VenueWorks. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Well, we appreciate all that they've done for us, and I do imagine that we will work with them in some way, shape, or form in the future, and to maintain those professional relationships as needed. So we take off on our own now. Good for us. All right, now we're at the part of committee reports, city committees and liaisons. Does anybody have any committee or liaison reports that they'd like to? Councilor Barone.
I was going to say we had a Eotech meeting scheduled for this last Thursday, but we ended up having budget committee, so I look forward to bringing back Eotech updates next time.
At Stepping Stones
Okay.
Attended a Stepping Stones meeting last week as the city liaison. They're still working hard at trying to put together a complete plan of what the shelter that they want to have looks like and how they're going to be run. They're kind of moving forward. I think there's supposed to be a request for proposals coming out from either the county or the city of Umatilla sometime soon about getting funding for putting that facility together. And I think that's kind of being routed through the state to whatever entity is going to be doing the request for proposals. So hopefully that's moving along. They've put together a website that they're still just on the verge of launching. You can actually see it if you log into it, but they haven't formally announced it yet. So that's out there if anybody wants to see what Stepping Stones look like, or it's set up so you can make a donation and help them out with it. And I think they've ended, so part of the facility is they're going to have some individual huts where either one or two people can stay. I think they've kind of narrowed down what the final design for that is going to look like. They had one that was sitting up on Highway 395 for a while in front of one of the ranching homes where the ranch and feed store is up there. And I think that was the one that they're going to go with, and I think they're planning on having kind of some build parties so they can invite the community in to help build those and put those together. And still generally moving forward, and it sounds like they're working hard.
So they're going to be going probably along the same lines as the Walla Walla facility with the Conestoga style huts? Is that where we're looking at, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
For that section. So they're going to have multiple sections. So there's going to be just a overnight facility where people can come and stay overnight at the facility, and then they're going to have some longer term huts, right, I guess. The term that they're it's probably not the term they're using, but some longer term facility where people can stay and try to get back into regular housing and deal with some of the issues that brought them to homelessness to begin with.
Okay. Interesting. Any other committees? Councilor Brown.
I just had a comment for Councilor Spicer-Kuhn. When that build date does come, can you bring that date and time back to council? That way we can potentially participate if...
Yeah, once they have that figured out.
Okay.
Let you know, and they'll put it on their website too, and so hopefully it'll get around. And they do have a Facebook page, but I'll say it hasn't been updated very recently. So.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay. Any other committees or liaisons to report? Seeing none. The mayor/council president's report, I don't have anything to report other than the fact that I am in desperate need of figuring out how the calendar works. Apparently I missed a couple of meetings in the immediate past, and I apologize to all of you that made it and noticed my absence. Well, I will bring it up. I have full, I hate using buzzwords, but full transparency, I screwed up. So I'm gonna work harder on that one, and but other than that, I don't have anything further to report. I'm excited to see all the stuff that's coming our way this next couple of weeks and next month or so. So good for us. I'm really happy to see what we're doing with Eotech. So, council, Mr. Harden.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on our budget committee, and I think it was an excellent meeting and well done and great presentation. And I think I was utterly surprised at what time of day it was when we got out, because I think that had to be a first, okay?
Day.
Yeah, but my hat's off to the administration and on a job well done. I think that's probably one of the best ones we've had in a long time. Thank you.
Councilor Meyer.
It was a very good budget meeting and well ran and went off very smoothly. And also get out and vote.
Councilor Brown.
I too, this was my 4th budget committee meeting, and it's gotten more and more efficient every time. I do want to thank also the budget committee members, the public members as well. They had really, really great questions, and they really are how they direct us. Otherwise, it's just council conversation. So to have community output or input on on what we should do, on which direction the city is going, or even just on departments, on what the city is doing department by department is really great because it makes us be better. And so I just really appreciate community members that were present and did their best to ask questions. The tougher they are, the better they come. So I really appreciate everybody on the budget committee. Great, efficient, enjoyed it.
Well, as somebody that wasn't there, it's good to hear all these things. I did hear from several of the members from the public, and I was encouraged by some of the things that they had to say. So I hear some hard questions were asked, so it's good. That's what the whole process is about. We're not just a rubber stamp. We're supposed to be there to be the what's your phrase, sir? Fiscal prudence, yes, exercising our fiscal prudence. So, well, you're the one that coined it, so it's yours now. We're going to lay that upon the record, I think. All right, so how about the youth advisors? Oh, wait, no, okay.
Remiss, I had an opportunity to attend lunch at the Senior Center last week. It was a great experience. They have a lot of wealth of information about what Hermiston was like in the past and how things are going now, and they do have some great programs that they got going on there. But a few of the people wanted to make sure that I extended an invitation to all of the council. They would like to see us there occasionally. They had some complaints that we weren't there often enough.
Yeah, I got the same complaint.
So you have a freestanding invitation to attend lunch there. They have lunch every Tuesday and Thursday. It's $5. You can't really beat that for a lunch deal. Just call ahead and let them know you're coming so they can make it up.
And from what I know, the gal that does some of the cooking there is pretty good at it. So,
What I had was excellent. It was great.
so yeah, if you have the opportunity, please tell him I sent you so that I get out of trouble with it. Actually, tell him he did because he said it. Okay, now, Ms. Duran, yes.
Yeah, I want to also thank all the community members that are part of the budget committee because I think it also, they bring another perspective. This is my first year, so I remember, or my second year. Last year was my first, so, you know, you're just taking it all in and you dare not ask questions because you know, the others know more. Although I think I did ask a few, but I do want to thank them for their time to be able to study those items and come prepared. There was another gentleman that is not here tonight, but he's come to previous meetings where he had questions and he said, oh, well, that takes care of most of the things that I had already highlighted. So, you know, to me that shows preparation on their part. So I want to thank them. And one of our budget committee members is also here, Mr. Joshua Roberts. Thank you for attending. And I don't know if you have any comments to share about the process, but I was very glad that people like you were part of the committee to make us think and to make us better. And I also appreciated the fact that for our first year we had our student council members that were also there to ask questions and learn how things come about and all the discussions that take place before adopting a budget. So I'm very thankful for that.
Any other council comments before I give it over to the youth advisors? All right, let's hear from you.
Okay. I have something from a good friend of mine, Amy Wooster. She is with the Rotary Club, with the change tune. And currently they're doing a fundraiser she's doing a fundraiser. She's helping with the fundraiser. And what she's doing is she's running miles every day. She posts them on a website, and she also posts it on her Instagram. And basically it's for a program called Shelter Box, where with each mile, or with every, I think it was $100. No, one shelter box is $1,000. Sorry about that. Each shelter box is $1,000, and each of these shelter boxes helps about 10 send people. And what it's for is that they're sending it over to Ukraine to help with the people that are in need or any lack of supplies that they have. And so far, she's done a lot. At this rate, she's running 3 miles per day. I had to text her before the meeting and ask her if she could send me what she told us, and she said, okay, give me a minute. I need to go and run the 3 miles, and then I'll get back to you. And so I got it back from her. So it's really great what they're doing. And you can make donations as well to the Rotary Club. You can find kids that are a part of the club or like the leader of the club. I'm not sure who it is. My apologies. But you can give them cash donations. You can give check donations. You would make it out to the Rotary Club though. But yeah, the fundraiser is still going on, and they're gonna stop taking donations May 15th. And it's been going really good. From what I've heard, they've raised a lot of money, and she's really great at doing what she does, and just getting people to help the cause, and like bringing them together, being like, hey, you guys should like come and donate, and doing these things to spark initiative, like running or just like showing some kind of physical thing to help push people to be like, if she can run this much, then I can donate like $5 or even just like $1. People are donating coins as well, like just like spare pocket change. They're like, okay, this is what I have, and she's like, it's perfect. So really anything helps, just to get to help people and to just contribute to that.
Excellent. All right. So would it be possible for you to forward that information to us through the email system so that we can put that out there?
Yeah, of course, I can do that.
That'd be great.
Does she have a website or a Facebook page where we can get more information?
She has an Instagram page. Hold on, so sorry. Amy Wooster. She is a junior and she's going to Thailand next year. So,
Some of us are old and don't have Instagram.
Well, that's okay. We can have that information forwarded and we can post it.
I was just hoping she could announce it to the general audience if she had.
I have her Instagram here. It's amy.wooster.73, and it's a picture of her.
How do you spell Wooster? How do you spell Wooster?
Wooster, WOOSTR. And she posted a post about the fundraiser and everything, and she also posts stuff about upcoming events with the band program or just things that she's included in. And she keeps us updated with her runs as well. So sometimes you'll see on her story that it's her running, but like she has a friend with her, or like every now and then she has somebody else, or like she passes by somebody's house and she waves at them, and it's fun because it's like it's her interacting with other people as well as doing these things.
Excellent. Well, good job for Amy. Any other things that you two have? Nothing. All right. Anybody else have anything for the good order? We are adjourned. Oh, city manager. Holy cow, I skipped right over him, didn't I? It wasn't on my list.
Just I hope you've driven by City Hall recently. I think we're pretty close to about 95% of the windows in. I mean, it's getting close, starting to see the siding going up, covering up the last bit of that beautiful teal that everyone loved so much. Just lots of good progress there. And we should see some pavement this week in that parking lot and in the alley, so put things a little bit more back to normal in that area. Also, to kind of follow up on Councilor Spicer-Kuhn, we're working towards a public session discussion about the homeless project, either towards the end of May or early June at the latest. So we'll make sure that the idea is we're working towards a joint work session with the Umatilla City Council, and then inviting the county commissioners as well to kind of present some ideas and then get some, community and public feedback on that. So we'll keep you up to date on that. I also wanted to read a thank you card I got from Patty Mulvihill from the League of Oregon Cities. She said, Byron, Mayor Drotzman, and the entire Hermiston Council and staff, thank you for hosting a wonderful LOC Spring Conference. Attendees are still sharing with us how much fun they had and how welcome they felt in your city. As for LOC staff, we could not have had a better partner in this event. Thank you, Patty. So just wanted to pass that on. I think it was a great event. I think got a lot of good exposure with the people who came to Hermiston. Then I wanted to share just a little bit of information, if you could pass that around. I've been writing to you a little bit about discussions or efforts to potentially have a city IT department that could then potentially provide services to some of our smaller communities around. This is just a preliminary budget that we've been working off of. And I wanted to kind of start just a little bit from when I began here. One of the things that I was looking for from an IT provider is to really help us with more strategic, long-term, taking a look at things that we really need to be able to do our job better. And, what we have is a great service. We've had a partnership with the ESD for 20 years, and they help us out, and they've solved problems, but it's really more of a reactive type of a service. And in communications with other local governments around us, seems like they've had similar experiences. And so as we came to contract renewal with the ESD this year, their costs to us were going to go up significantly, almost 4 times, well, a little more than 3 times. And so what we started looking into is, could we bring a service in-house and then help some of those other jurisdictions with some of the challenges that they're having, with a focus on local government. The ESD does a great job, but they're really focused on schools. That's what they do. And so sometimes we don't, sometimes our needs are not their needs and vice versa. So this initial look at a budget would be, and I'm not naming jurisdictions on purpose, just because nobody has approved any kind of an agreement. Nobody's done anything like that. So, but you can see the revenues that could be generated from those contracts, and those are all conversations that I've had and verbal commitments from these various either special districts or local governments in our area. These are salary estimates, benefits, and then taking a stab at what it would cost. And we can get to break even. I mean, this number gets to 0. It's not going to be exactly that way, but so I just wanted to kind of update the council, and I'm continuing to work on this. And if things come together, we would be coming to you soon after the 1st of July with a budget amendment that would authorize the expenditure of these funds and enter into agreements with these other agencies. So I wanted to kind of let you know where I'm at. Be happy to talk about, answer questions, have a discussion, but wanted to let you know kind of what I've been working on.
So I'm looking at this, and just the number that jumps off the page at me is $9,000 for capital outlay. That seems a little light.
Well, that would just be that's initially kind of putting desks together, basically getting enough desks for 4 staff members, those types of things.
Nothing about the servers and that type of thing.
Well, that all is kind of in its own budget, as far as where we buy servers, those types of things. So that is the only part in here that is under office supplies would be buying the desktops for those staff, or the laptops for those staff members to utilize.
So this is basically the budget for people to maintain the machines that we have and give them an office.
Right.
What services, what services exactly would these IT people providing to the city and to other cities around? What are you thinking of?
So there would be a range all the way from, fixing your desktop when, an application doesn't work, all the way up to, designing and engineering the networks and then even, the networks that would connect between buildings, those types of things. So maintaining servers, all those types of services.
The ultimate goal is to get everyone connected.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Yes.
this.
That's kind of what we've been working on this broadband project, is to try to
Right.
better connect. This would actually bring a little bit more in-house talent for that than what we have right now.
This also would give us a little bit more of a security benefit as well, because again, we would be keeping everybody in-house, and so we would have everything directly under one roof as far as control mechanisms and everything. And, all the training would be,
Yeah,
decided by
from a
us.
control standpoint, we would have a lot more of that.
Information
And,
control.
and since this is the government control of
Of our own
information-
data and our
yeah,
information.
that's kind of important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Ron?
So does this mean that we will be bringing in revenue then at some point as you begin to build an IT team, and then as need arises between other local jurisdictions, then they would be out assisting them with their IT
Yes,
issues?
and the way we've looked at it, in the past, you could get away with having one person who might know a little bit of everything, but IT has gotten so much more specialized. There are server people, and there are network people, and there are desktop people, and so those, to try to have all of that for the city we can't afford it. If you just look at the salaries, you're talking almost 600,000 salaries and benefits just for those people. And so the way to make it so we can have that type of expertise available, we need to sell it to others around us. And they're interested. They also, at a smaller jurisdiction, want some of the same things and can afford it less. So they're very interested in this kind of a partnership.
I would envision that it would work similar to the way that we're working with our building inspector type, where we
where we
contract
share
out
mhm.
and share their services.
Yeah, and Mr. Tubby's been working on an IGA that we'll be able to utilize with those jurisdictions.
Okay. So there's no action
No
needed
request
on
for
this?
action, just an update, let you know what I'm working on, and hopefully you'll see some more action items in the near future.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Anybody else? I've tried to cut everybody off several times tonight, so. All right, going once. Nah, we're done.